Evening everyone, this is Wasim Ahmed once again with you, and guys, today I came up with a very important topic for you, especially the people who are due for examination on 28th of October 2020. This information would be very helpful for all of those and people who are due for examinations ahead. Many people, they had queries on sources of information to be used in the examination, and as we all know that your book is only one source of information. However, there are so many other sources you can utilize in formulating your answers and coming up with a better answer to get good marks in the examination. But before moving to that specific area, I have some of the important things to be discussed with you today. Guys, many people are contacting me on different issues. Some people are asking me to help them in their NEBOSH GC2 report. Some people are asking me to help them during their examination. Guys, we have to be more ethical. As I told you earlier also, I'm approved trainer for NEBOSH. I'm approved assessor for NEBOSH. Whatever videos I am making for you guys, whatever work we are doing for the betterment of communities and the candidates, this is purely charitable work. There is no financial reward behind it. There is no financial impact of this whole work. So being more ethical, please don't contact me for all of these kind of things. Some people, they need they are not even thinking, and they are contacting me and telling me that you need to help us during the exam. Okay, this is none of my job. This is your job. We provide you all the tools and resources how to prepare for the examination. And now this is your game plan now, how to prepare for exam, especially making your reports. This should not be a case. You guys are going to be certified, so you need to know how to make a risk assessment report and all that. Provided all the tools are provided to you, and there is no ambiguity, I think everything is clear now. So you need to put your foot down in doing something on your own also. I'm not saying that my support is not available. My support is available to all of those candidates who would like to know how to do these things. And all of my videos, if you see, they are only talking on these issues: how to prepare for your exam, how to approach the questions, how to formulate the answers, how to do risk assessment reports, and all those things. So, guys, being more ethical, please don't contact me for these things. This is my request to all of you. Now we are going to start the referencing or the material you are going to use. This is very important topic, and as I told you, now since the exam is open book, NEBOSH has given you a privilege to go with any kind of uh, credible source which you can use in your answers to make your points. So the only thing is, whatever source you are going to use must be referenced accordingly so that it can be checked. So these information sources, there are a lot of information sources, guys. The most critical thing is you have to use an information source which is more credible, and the credibility of source depends on the body of the information which you are going to use. For example, this information belongs to which body? Any regulatory body, any good practice standards. One thing you should be keeping in mind: none of the individual information. For example, if I told you something, this is not a credible information. The credible information is which comes out of a source, for which there is a credibility in the market. For example, if you are quoting something from ILO website, that is more credible. If you are quoting something from BSI, British Standards Institute, they are more credible. However, if you compare it with individual sources of information, also some people were asking me whether we can quote our training provider reference. No, your training provider still is an organization which is providing training. They are not working on collecting information, and they are not working on the standard making things and all that. So whatever information you will be providing through a credible source. This should be kept in mind. That's what we'll be discussing. What are the credible source? available do you have, and how you are going to quote them, how you are going to reference them, and all those things will be discussed in this video. And at the end, we'll be developing a reference checklist as required by NEBOSH. This is the most important part of this video. So just stick to the video till the end. In the end, I will be showing you how you are going to develop a reference checklist. For example, if you have used 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 references, then you need to develop a checklist at the end, and you need to put all your references in that specific checklist in a certain organized manner. So we'll be discussing that during the video here. So let's start, guys. So guys, as we discussed, there are so many sources of information available to you which you can refer, and you can use information out of those sources during your exams. So some of the sources I've mentioned here, for example, national legislation. National legislation belong to a country specifically, and you can use certain national references. For example, if you are sitting in Saudi Arabia or Middle Eastern countries, there are some bodies, firefighting bodies, civil defense, environmental bodies. You can use them, their national legislation, or preferably you can use UK based regulation references also, which can be HSE website, and which can be BSI, British Standard Institute, and all of those things. Or if you are sitting in Europe, you can use ILO references. They are more credible sources of information. So wherever you think there is a breach of health and safety rule or regulation, you can quote these references in your answer, that as per so and so reference, uh, the risk was not identified, risk was not mitigated, so that's why the accident happened. So like for example, in all of those questions in which you need to provide a legal reference, you can quote all of these things. You can use approved code of practices also. They are also credible sources of information. In certain areas where you don't have a regulation, you have approved code of practice also, so that can be utilized as a reference. Or you can use standard from good practice standards, like ISO standards, ISO 45001 for with regards to health and safety, ISO 9001, 14001 for quality and environment. You can utilize those references to make your point. Manufacturer's information, which is usually known as material safety data sheet, and now it is replaced with the new name safety data sheet. So safety data sheet can give you information on certain chemicals, hazardous substances. You can utilize that information also as external source of information, and you can quote that reference in your answers. Also, some trade associations, they come up with certain publications. They are also credible sources of information. Some safety publications like magazines, newsletters, newspapers, they can also be utilized as a reference. Some international bodies with regards to health and safety, for example, OSHA, ILO, HSE, all of these organizations, all of these bodies are very credible sources of information. You can quote them accordingly. And sometimes trade unions, charitable organizations, they come up with certain credible information, so you can use that information also in formulating your answers. So we have variety of information available, and we need to decide in our mind mapping what kind of information we are going to provide and what kind of sources of information are suitable to answer that specific question. There are certain web sources available, and this is one of the very handy resource, I would say. Everyone have internet. For example, you are going to appear in an examination, you will be having access to internet, and that is the most handy resource with you. You can go to any website and look for the information required, and accordingly you can utilize that information in your answers. But with regards to these web sources and all of these informations, guys, I just want to remind you that you are not simply going to that website and copying information and pasting in your exam. This would be plagiarism. So plagiarism is a malpractice in the exam, and there are consequences on that type of things. So we all know that plagiarism must be avoided, and if anybody is involved in plagiarism, he can be banned for 5 years for NEBOSH qualifications. So don't get yourself involved in that kind of practices. However, there are many websites with regards to health and safety. I have mentioned few of them here in this slide also. You can simply go to hse.gov.uk website. This is one of the precious resource, I would say. You will find a lot of support, a lot of help there. You will find templates of risk assessments. You will find even the latest thing with regards to COVID-19 and all that. You can further go to OSHA website. This is one of the best source I like always. OSHA is providing a lot of resources on their websites. You can download any standard. You can find out any kind of training materials. You can find out any kind of health and safety resource in that website. Also, there are some European agencies for health and safety. You can go to their website. I've mentioned the websites also for your convenience here. And for Australian regulations, you can go to WorkSafe website. That is Australian regulation. International Labour Organization is one of the important source nowadays, because if you need some facts and figures on certain fatalities, diseases, illnesses and all that, you will find the updated figures on ILO website, and also regulatory information is available on ILO C155 or 164, which are the conventions and regulations. And I would recommend you to quote everywhere. For example, you are given a situation where health and safety measures were not taken, risk was not identified, mitigated. So you can quote a reference here as per C155 R164. Employer failed to identify the risk. That's why the accident happened. So these references will give an idea to the examiner that yes, you are thinking and you are connecting things properly. You know the regulations and you know the breaches and all that. So it will give them an idea that yes, you have an idea what you are going to talk about. Also, nowadays we are suffering through pandemics and COVID-19 related issues. So don't forget to go to the WHO website, which is World Health Organization website, and you might get some updated facts and figures on that. So if you have a question related to these latest things going on, which I am expecting also in the exam, so you have to refer back to the credible sources of information. So these are some of the web sources, guys. You can always refer and you can always quote them in your reference list. Being a health and safety practitioner, I would recommend you, even not for examination, you should go for all of these HSE publications, and these publications will help you to keep your knowledge about health and safety updated. There are so many magazines, publications available. The only thing is you need to subscribe them and you need to read them out to get some information to be updated with health and safety knowledge. So a good health and safety practitioner is the one who is updated with the latest things. So IOSH magazine is there, Health and Safety Middle East HSME is there also. NEBOSH examiner reports are most credible sources for the NEBOSH exams. HSE people, there is a magazine HSE people. They are also credible sources. Another very important credible source is US Department of Labor newsletter. So I would recommend you, being health and safety practitioner, just subscribe this newsletter and you will be getting free of cost copy every week on the on different things, on the facts and figures and all that belonging to US and those economies. And then for local, there is OSHAD, one of the body here in UAE. You can use their publications also to identify and mitigate risks and controls. So these are some of the HSE publications. You can refer them in your exams also. They are also credible sources of information. And guys, don't forget to quote your book. This is one of the most important resource we have. Okay. Some people might not be considering other sources of information and they might be sticking to the book only. So we have RRC training material. Usually we are using this material. Some of the organizations, they are using different approved materials by NEBOSH. Just quote your course books also as a reference. At the end in the reference list, you don't forget to quote these books also, because you utilize them to gain some knowledge. So for IGC 1, GC 2 and 3, there are training materials, there are course books, there are some notes provided by your learning partner. This is also one of the most credible source of information which you can prove that yes, you have to utilize this source of information to formulate your answers and to come up with the information required. So friends, the first part of this video was on what kind of sources you are going to consult, what is the credibility of a source and all that information. Now at the end, whatever sources of information you have utilized to formulate your answer, you need to formally make a list of all those references to show examiners that these are all the references you used to answer your questions. So this should be done in a proper format. I have written down some of the references here for your information. For example, for the core syllabus books, this can be one of your reference head, and then further you can write a reference unit IGC 1 management of health and safety, and then the literature making body RRC international book 2020 edition. So you have to give examiner a reference of what kind of book was it which you were using throughout your learning and all that. Also, for example, one of the document provided by NEBOSH in a previous exam was your HSG 245 document. Many people, they did not write reference for this document. You have to write a reference, guys, because you were using that document to answer question number 7 in the exam in 6th of August exam. So whatever source you are using, you need to provide a reference for that. So investigating accidents, incidents, HSG 245 2004 document should be referenced also. International Labour Organization reference, for example, if you have collected some of the facts and figures from there, if you have found out some of the breaches of regulations out of that ILO website, so you can say C1 Convention C155 recommendations R164 Occupational Health and Safety Regulation 1981, and then you have to provide a website also, or it is more credible if you provide the link of that specific page which you were referring for the information. Health and Safety Executive website, if you utilize this website, so you have to provide the link for that website or the general website for the examiner. And then IOSH, Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, their website. So for example, you have utilized these 5 sources of information, you have to list them down in a proper format. I have down there I have shown you one of the screenshot of referencing from the exam itself. So NEBOSH will provide you one specific area at the end of the exam where they are simply asking you documents and sources of information you use in your examination, and then you need to list down all of those references which your examiner would like to see. So this is how you are going to create a reference list at the end of your exam. So friends, I think I was able to clarify all of your queries with regards to referencing and all that, and the reference materials and all of those things. And still, if there are some ambiguities, you are more than welcome to ask questions and all that. But just keep some important things in your mind, as I told you, that maybe you come up with a very good answer, you consulted many sources of information, but you need to tell the examiner also what sources of information you consulted. There is no harm in coming up with many sources of information. Don't think that examiner will be thinking that he is going through many sources of information and all that. It is a positive point, it's a plus on your side, that yes, you know how to take out the information from different sources and you know how to put it in the right place, in the right amount, in the right time. So this is a positive plus point for you guys. So utilize all of those sources of information. Don't only stick to the book, and uh, this is how you can attain good marks in the examination. This is what expectation of NEBOSH is now, that people will not be sticky to the book only. People in the open book examination provided 24 hours to solve your answers and all that. Now their expectation is also high, and they want you to come up with the more credible information utilizing different sources of information. So guys, hope you enjoy the video. Stay tuned. We'll be coming up with very important videos very soon. So keep in touch and stay blessed. See you in next video.